While Donald Trump and his allies pretend that it's only the right wing that are victims of political violence, people who live here on planet Earth, in reality, we remember that just a few months ago, a Democratic lawmaker was killed. Multiple people were killed. One was an actual lawmaker. That was Melissa Horton, who was gunned down along with her husband and her dog in June. It was just earlier this year, and there wasn't that much attention paid to it because it was a Democrat, and Trump didn't care. He mocked the very idea of talking to Tim Walz, whose name was also on the assassins list. But in any event, she did actually die. And in that case, there wasn't this thing of like a weeks-long search. Well, okay, how do you interpret this meme? And did this person ever meet a trans person? No, their political motivations were incredibly clear. David Carlson, a longtime friend of Belter's, the actual the suspect, Vance Belter, who lives in an address that was searched by police, said that Belter had voted for Donald Trump last year. He was a devout Christian who strongly opposed abortion. A video surfaced of him preaching in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, delivering several sermons in which he criticized gay and transgender people. And he had a 60-member long list of Democratic politicians, as well as abortion providers, abortion activists, super clear what side of the aisle he was on. JD Vance, this looks like nothing to him, I guess. And also, I suppose, to Donald Trump, because Donald Trump was asked why the White House didn't fly the flags at half-staff when she actually died. And take a look at this reaction.
In retrospect, given all of the moving ways that this White House has paid tribute to Charlie Kirk, right, do you think it would have been fitting to lower the flags to half-staff when Melissa Hortman, the Minnesota House Speaker, was gunned down by an assassin as well?
I'm not familiar. The
Minnesota House Speaker, a Democrat, was assassinated this summer.
Well, if the governor had asked me to do that, I would have done that. But the governor of Minnesota didn't ask me. I didn't. I wouldn't have thought of that, but I would have if somebody had asked me. People make requests for the lowering of flag, and oftentimes you have to say no because it would be a lot of lowering. The flag would never be up. Had the governor of Minnesota asked me to do that, I would have done that gladly.
So to be very clear, the governor might have asked him to do that if Trump had actually talked to Tim Walz. He refused to do so. He said, that guy's kooky. That guy was mourning the loss of someone he knew who'd just been assassinated. That guy might have been next to be assassinated if they hadn't stopped the guy. And Trump insulted him, okay? Far worse, far more disgusting than anything you're seeing on social media this week. That's what he did. That's why you didn't hear the request for the flag to be taken down. You refused to talk to him. But that part bothers me less than who? He doesn't know. He doesn't know. I mean, no, never mind the fact that people all this last week have been talking about the massive hypocrisy on the right, that she was just killed a couple months ago and not a damn one of these right wingers cared at all about it. And now the entire country is shut down since what happened last week. Who? I don't know. Oh, by the way, also, she said who it was. She said the name and the position. She literally defined who the person was, but Grandpa is so mentally decayed that he couldn't even follow what she was saying there. Who? The utter disrespect. Oh, like I'm supposed to remember all of the people that my followers murder, I suppose. It's just so gross. Anyway, Luke, what do you think?
Yeah, it is so gross. As you're playing that clip, I had seen it, but watching it again and then being reminded of that statement on Air Force One, I remember so distinct. He was asked, will you call Governor Tim Walz, a close friend of Melissa Hortman, and the governor of the state where it happened and where she served. And he starts attacking Tim Walz as wacky and something's wrong with him, and that's why he's not gonna call. So then to say the reason why you didn't honor her in the same ways as you are now with Kirk, for you to say it's because I wasn't asked by the governor, well, that was because of you. You didn't even wanna listen. And this is what I keep bringing up, John, on my show. If I am trying to have a thoughtful conversation with someone on the right, and our discussion is, wow, how horrible what happened to Kirk was, and how horrible that people that you're seeing online are saying things that seem really insensitive. So if that's our stance, and that's mine, if that's our stance collectively across political lines, then can we also agree that conspiracy theories that literally, I don't know if you remember this, but prominent people were signal boosting conspiracy theories that Tim Walz had ordered the assassination of Melissa Hortman to like run for, or had ordered the assassinations of a lot of Democrats, one of them being Amy Klobuchar, who was also on the list, to run for Amy Klobuchar's Senate seat or something like that. Just making up stuff, lying that this was Tim Walz's buddy because the guy had worked in the government, which had nothing to do with his political views. He was clearly and unequivocally a Trump supporter. And so if in the Kirk case, MAGA supporters, and I understand this, feel like there are too many people, not elected and powerful Democrats, because they've had a very clear opposition to this, but other people you're seeing online, like you said, millions of people online. Some people are going to be saying stuff you see as sensitive or that is just outright horrible. If you're saying that has to stop, then the only way we're going to thoughtfully move forward in a consistent manner is to address that, man, this is not the only time that insensitivity, not just in the case of Melissa Hortman, random people online or influencers, but literally Mike Lee, a Republican senator, making fun of that assassination. There has to be a consistent standard. We talked about in the last segment, firings being called for and all of that. How on earth can we have how can MAGA have such an inconsistent standard in how they respond to political violence where so many lies were told about her death, or people ignored it altogether? And it's heartbreaking now. It kind of connects to what we talked about before with the broader stats around political violence. And then they'll distort that and say, actually, it's only coming from the left, which just that statement is an overt attempt to erase the memory of Melissa Hortman and her husband. Not to mention John Hoffman was shot, and his wife, and a whole list of Democrats that Vance Bolter was planning on going and getting. And there's just this erasure attempt, which gets us further from what I see as justice for Kirk, for Hortman, for people who have been victims of political violence, which is actually bringing forward a meaningful solution, which obviously most people don't seem passionate about.
Yeah, and look, like we could do an hours-long show of all the time the right-wingers have delighted in political violence. Trump himself in 2023 was talking to a crowd of California Republicans at the state party convention. He said, "We'll stand up to crazy Nancy Pelosi, who ruined San Francisco. How's her husband doing? Anybody know?" Guy who loved Donald Trump had bashed in his skull. And Trump and all of them had been like, it was probably like a gay tryst or whatever. How's he doing? Anybody know? They can say whatever they want. They can say literally whatever they want. They can mock all of this. And meanwhile, if you like post a Charlie Kirk screenshot of a tweet, you will lose your job. And that is it. Okay, Laura Loomer cheers migrants drowning in the Mediterranean. It's not even worth talking about. But she is on the phones trying to get people fired. Matt Walsh on his show called for the Democratic mayor of Chicago to be put to death by the state. It's not even a topic of conversation. Brian Kilmeade is going to be brought. He probably did his show already today. He called for the involuntary lethal injection of the unhoused. He wasn't even suspended for a day. Again, the standards are so wildly out of whack and inconsistent.